And you don't think about that intimidation every day, but it's definitely there.
Right.
This undertone of like knowing that somebody could physically hurt you.
Right.
That plays a big role in your life that you may never have considered. And so for so many women, like the effects that it has is not just, I feel safer. That's a beautiful byproduct of what we're doing, but it's about the confidence that they find within themselves, how they're engaging in conversations and other relationships outside of, a self-defense situation.
Totally.
And then also just the community building, right? The sisterhood that is built on the mat, the trust that is given with one another, these friendships that are created there that last a lifetime. So I always say, like, people come for self-defense, but they leave with so much more. And you can't even fathom what you would gain from that until you experience it.
Welcome to Black Belt Beauty Radio, a podcast fueled by a passion to support your journey in developing your most beautiful and optimal performance in life. Each episode is driven with the intention to elevate your mind. When we elevate our mind, we elevate our life. So get ready. It's time to rise.
What's up, beautiful people? Welcome back to Black Belt Beauty Radio. You guys, I've got episode number 2 of Unplugged ready to go for you, and I'm psyched because this time I've got one of my closest girls back on the podcast, Torres Gracie. So Eve was on the podcast a year ago, which is insane because time is truly flying. She was episode number 23. If you don't know who Eve is yet, I definitely recommend going back and taking in that episode. You're going to learn who she is, her backstory, her process maneuvering through life, mental framework, which is so badass and empowering. So all that good stuff. Definitely check that one out. In this real-time, raw, unplugged conversation with her, we basically catch up on everything that has taken place in the last year. So her and I have both lived a lot of life since our last episode, but in her particular life, she has created a new one with her son, Renson Gracie, now in the picture. So we get down on that, how she has been adjusting and maneuvering with now 2 baby boys in the picture. We wrap out about Women Empowered, the incredible jiu-jitsu-based self-defense program run by her and her husband, Rener Gracie, which, it's absolutely remarkable. This has grown tremendously, and it's really inspiring to listen to, her mindset, her heart, her intention, and ultimately her vision for Women Empowered and self-defense in general for women. So we get down on that, and, we wrap out about some body composition, like workout stuff, maneuvering through injuries, all that good stuff, you guys. It's a rad conversation. I do want to point out one special thing that, there is a free women's self-defense seminar coming up on July 13th, and it's right around the corner. So in Torrance at my academy, Gracie University, it's going to be held from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. And this is where you would be able to meet Eve and Rener Gracie, which is an incredible experience in of itself, and really become acquainted with not only, jiu-jitsu techniques, but, adopting this, powerful, empowered mindset that is woven into Women Empowered, and really, I think all of the jiu-jitsu programs that are offered through, our academy and Gracie University. So to sign up for that seminar, you have to reserve a spot, and you can do that via gracieuniversity.com. I can't recommend it enough, you guys. It is a game changer, a life game changer. So, and I know that you're going to feel that when you take in this episode and listen to Eve rap out about it, because it's coming from her heart and a very authentic place, everything behind this program. So without further ado, please enjoy this beautifully inspiring conversation with my beautifully inspiring girl, Torres Gracie. Enjoy. Yes. Okay. Round 2 with my girl, Eve. Thank you for carving out time. Your schedule is so gnarly, even more so now these days since the last podcast, because now there's another human. Oh my gosh. Renson, your little, he's like such a Romeo. I challenge anyone to look into his eyes and not melt.
No, he's got it.
He really does.
This woman, the woman who was taking his photos, his baby photos, she said, there's like a word in Korean. She said that she's like, oh, he's got those eyes. And she's like, my mom always told me, watch out for those guys. Those eyes.
It's like he knows he's putting you in a trance, and
looks in your eye, and it's like a really deep connection.
Yes, I love that.
Months.
That's insane. Yeah, that's crazy. Before the podcast, I mean, the joke is like, I really feel like I don't have a good concept of time, and part of that I think is actually a beautiful thing. It's because I'm living so much life in the life that I'm living day by day by day. And then you add on the fact that, I don't have a 9 to 5 or like this Monday through Friday business. It's like every day is a different day. A Friday could be a Monday. It's just, about that, right? As an entrepreneur, business owner, and so it's so easy to legit be like, oh, I thought that, oh no, that was just yesterday. Girl, you're tripping. But
it's been almost a year though. It's been a year since we last did our podcast, because I was still pregnant with Henson.
That's amazing.
I know.
So wait, so what has been, let's start with, what's some of the greatest things that have shifted for you since having Henson in your life?
I think anytime you bring a new baby into your world, obviously it like turns it upside down, and then you kind of have to like turn it right side up. And that process, I think there's beauty in that process of kind of like all the fluff goes away, and it's like literally down to like the most primal instincts that you have as a person is like making sure this human stays alive and making sure you stay alive. And so there's something that's kind of beautiful about that shift. It's like you eliminate all the other stuff that doesn't matter, and the only thing that matters is this new baby. And so it's kind of a beautiful process. And then from there, you kind of, it's like you detox, or like for a cleanse or something, you eliminate everything, and then you start kind of entering elements of like, okay, how does this feel? And I felt like that's kind of what happens with when you have a baby. It's like, you're home for 3 months straight, and you're just kind of, all the other stuff goes away. And then you just start re-entering element by element and just see what feels good and what makes sense for you at that moment and at that time for your family and for them. And so I'm kind of at that point where I'm at something that resembles, I would say, my life last time we talked. Where those elements are all coming in, and I'm able to, be gone longer from him. So it's getting to feel like more like myself, but it's still a beautiful process.
Yeah. And also like a new improved version of self, right? Because you have this new layer. And I imagine, because I think, because I witness so many of, the handful of my closest girls are mommies. You guys are mommies, right? And you're not just mommies, you're like super moms, because you're also entrepreneurs, you're athletes. Like, so it's just this constant juggling. I'm really proud of how you guys do it so gracefully, even on days where you might not think you're doing it gracefully. Overall, like when you zoom out, and I think that this is why when you have people that are close to you, like I'm close to you so I can witness your life from a different perspective than you. It's like, no, girl, you're doing it beautifully and badass at the same time. And so, now it's like, yes, you're coming back into yourself, but it's like Eve, like whatever we want to call 3.0. I don't know what number feels right.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. It does, it is that matter of juggling, and there's so much. I was actually just writing on this today of the constant juggling of mom guilt, which is a real thing, and, really talking yourself out of that and really focusing on where that comes from. Recognizing that everything that I do is a choice. So every place that I'm at right here, right now, I choose to be here with you.
Yes.
Right. And so, or if I am choosing to teach a class, or if I'm choosing to work at, in the office, that's a choice. And so instead of saying, oh gosh, well, I have to do this thing and life is making me do this one way, and I wish I could be with my kids, that's not actually true. Because if I really, truly wanted to be with my children at that moment, I could change everything to make that happen. But I'm making a choice about what my exact priority is at that moment. And then the same thing will go when I'm with my boys, is instead of thinking like, oh, I had all this other stuff I should have been doing today, or I'm not feeling productive because I spent the whole morning with them because I had to run a bunch of errands or whatever it is, I go, no, that was a choice as well. So I choose to be with them right now. Tomorrow I get to choose again where my energy goes. And so that helps me with that feeling of guilt of, it's still definitely difficult when I leave in the morning. And if Henson, he's now at the age where he sees me go, and if he wants me, sometimes he's fine, but he sees me, if he wants me and I have to leave the door, he'll cry when I'm leaving. And it's already really tough to see that and to know that I still have to leave. So it's the juggle, and it's like finding that balance and really just believing that when I'm working, I want to be 100% working, and when I'm with them, I'm 100% with them.
I love that. That's a powerful message for so many reasons. And I mean, I love the accountability. I think that when we are holding ourselves accountable and like paying, like, hey, this is a choice, like I'm doing this, I think that it does allow to be less emotional and to be, you know, more focused, really. And it's funny because this idea of balance in life is, everyone has their different, you know, take on it. And I really feel that it's very aligned with what you're saying. Like when you're over here and you're working, you're all in here and you're not trying to be in like 5 other places in your mind, right? You're going to give it your everything here. When you're training, it's going to be that. When you're with your kids, it's that. And to me, that is balance. It's not this like, I'm perfectly portioned over here. And it's like, you know, a quarter over here, a quarter over here, a quarter over here. No, sometimes you're like, it's more like, no, I'm 100 over here, and then I'm going to be 100 over here. Sometimes, like, to further the example, maybe you've been so full on in business and family that you haven't been able to train and take care of your body. Okay, cool. So now you know, I got to invest in this more now. And then when you're there, you're all in there. But it's a process. Balance is a process, right?
It's totally a process. And you're absolutely right that there's, and the other thing I remind people is, this is what I was writing today, is that people have said to me, like, I don't know how you do it all. And I actually get guilt when I hear that, because I remind them, I don't do it all. I can't do it all. No one can. Yeah. And I have incredible support. I have a nanny who's watching my kids. I have a mother-in-law who lives next door. I have a supportive husband who sometimes lets me sleep in. I have, you know, a team of people working behind us at Gracie University who's helping make those dreams accomplished. Yeah. So I feel guilty when I hear that sometimes, because I'm like trying to explain, like, I'm not doing it all. You can't actually do that. And then I get my neck injured because why? I'm not taking care of myself. So there's always things that are a reminder to you going, hey, you're, you know, like, we need you over here. And like my body was just recently telling me that because I got a really bad neck injury. So I'm not able to train right now.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Sorry. Side note. I saw that the other day and I was like, wait, was this just like you know, taking care, or did something happen?
No, it was not like one specific incident, but it was definitely on a weekend where I could probably pinpoint it to 3 or 4 things. And that's when you go, okay, the fact that 3 or 4 things could be contributed to the fact that your neck is completely jacked up is likely an indicator that you need to take better care of it. But also, what's interesting is the last time I had the same neck injury, Haven was about the same age Henson is. So I actually think it has a huge correlation to me carrying around a heavy ass baby.
Oh, for sure. They're heavy.
So it's, and then you're never carrying them with great posture. It's always one side of your body. Right. And then, you know, between breastfeeding in the morning, I wake up and I'm hunched over, and, you know, if I'm nursing him in the morning. So I'm just putting my body in all these awkward positions.
Totally.
And then, because wasn't doing probably the strength training that I needed to be doing to counteract that, you know, motion in that position that I'm constantly in, my neck just, and then on top of that, I'm training jiu-jitsu and getting choked and teaching private classes with people and willingly giving them my neck to, you know, choke me in these positions. I was so like, generously. Okay, I have to reassess, you know, how I do that. So it definitely was another wake-up call of like, hey,
we got to.
Yep. And it's just a reminder that you can't do everything. So you have to just do what you can. And then, you know, where you feel like you need to give energy, you need to give it.
I love that. Let me ask you, what has been some of the greatest challenges since having Henson?
I think actually with my 3-year-old has been the greatest challenge is adjusting to life with now a new baby. Yeah. And me not feeling guilty about that, you know, about him. And he's actually done remarkably well, I would say, but there's still so many moments where it's just kind of, I see him acting out, and I have to kind of look into it deeper and go, this isn't because of that. It's because, you know, he's feeling like, and I recognized recently, my husband spends a lot of time with him now, and I'm spending a lot of time with the baby. Right. And that was kind of the beginning of Henson's life. That's how it went, is Henner would take Haven and I would be with the baby. So Haven and mama time did not happen very often. And I saw it kind of, he was definitely taking it out on me. And I noticed him acting out more towards me than Henner. And at first you take it personally, and I'm like, why doesn't he like me? And what's wrong? And then I look at it and I go, oh, this makes complete sense. And so then I've just taken an effort to have special Haven and mama time. And when I do that, it's like so clear, because it's beautiful, it's perfect, and that's clearly what he needs, is just some more connection time with mama. And so it's even balanced within the family of, like, you know, energy towards your children and making sure that they both get kind of what they need.
Oh
from
my
their
gosh.
parents.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's got to be difficult though, too. Cause he's at a age too, where it's like, he needs so much attention.
Yeah. I mean, he's
the
3.
cutest.
Three
oh my
is,
gosh.
3 is a whole, it's like everyone says terrible 2s. I'm like, no, it's not. It's
Is
not
it
about
the
the
3?
2s. It's about the 3s.
He's so smart too. So it's, not that this is even again your method, obviously, but he's not the kid that you're going to put in front of a screen and he's just like, oh, super. No, he wants to engage, which is so rad.
It's so beautiful. It's
Yes.
so awesome. But I sometimes forget that he's 3 because he talks to me like a 5-year-old,
Word.
like his vocabulary and like
is better than mine.
No, legit, he's like teaching me dinosaurs that I've never heard of in my life.
It's crazy.
And I've just learned not to second guess him. At first I'm like, are you sure? And I look it up. I'm like, oh yeah. Right. Okay. So you actually definitely know what you're talking about.
That's amazing.
But so it's, balancing that aspect. It's whenever you have a new child, it's just finding that family balance between, and then you're like, oh yeah, and I have a husband too. That whole thing.
Yeah, totally. And you guys work together, and
yes.
you guys have, since our last conversation, you've launched amazing big things. You've got big things coming up. There's so much happening. There's so many moving parts, and that's why it's so rad to have you on. Well, first of all, just period, but like to have you as a continuing guest, because, our talks outside of podcasts to me are podcast worthy, because we talk about, life process, right? Yeah. And it's like how we're kind of maneuvering through it. And it's always so inspiring how you're maneuvering through your life. And I just feel like there's so many gems to pull from your mental framework and your process that, would be supportive to everyone who listens in. So it's just rad to have this like, constant life conversation with you on the podcast too. Mm-hmm. So much fun. But yeah, you guys have so many moving parts. So let's talk about that a little bit, like business wise. Since our last conversation, you guys, can you talk about some of the things that you've put out? And
sure.
Yeah.
So we had already launched. No,
you didn't. Yeah, I know.
What
do the
happened
time
a
thing.
Year ago.
Right.
Yes. Okay. So we launched Women Empowered 2.0, which is the new release of Women Empowered, both on DVD and online. And this is really laying the groundwork for the greater mission, which is the Women Empowered Instructor Certification Program. So that now exciting. We can have women being certified all over the world and offering this in their communities. Because the number one question we get is, I wish this was where I'm at in Wisconsin, or I wish they had it in Chicago. In all of these cities, people, write to us and say, God, I wish you had this here. Yeah. And so I now turned to them and said, okay, you're the one, like if you want it to be in your community, you may be the one to bring it to them. So we finished all of filming the Women Empowered DVD was released in January, and it's also available online on Gracie University. And the filming for the Women Empowered Instructor Certification Program is done. And so now we're just kind of in the final editing process, and which takes a while, but we're getting there. It's over 30 videos of pretty extensive content. And we don't take it lightly. We don't take certifying instructors, especially when teaching women self-defense. And we like the fact that we take a trauma-informed approach to instruction, because we know that a lot of women who are seeking self-defense have likely experienced past traumas. So it's really important that our instructors have some knowledge in that, and that they go through a rigorous, certification process to make sure that we're putting quality out there.
Yeah.
But that's the next big mission, and that will be released in the fall of this year.
That is so exciting.
So
we're going to have a party for that.
Oh, we definitely will.
We do. As your girl, just witnessing how much work goes into this, it's incredible. On top of being a mommy, on top of being a wife, and like on top of just being you, a human who has to do Eve too. It's so much, but it's, it's inspired work. And I think let's talk about that a little bit, because I know that this is, everything that you've been doing with Women Empowered is just a full operation of heart. And I think that's also why it translates, to be so empowering, to feel so impactful the way that it is because it's real. It's coming from your truth, It's really easy to throw yourself into, and this, like when you're passionate about something and when you have this like drive and just like a sense of purpose, it's so easy to throw yourself into the work to the point where you may actually have to be like, all right, get yourself out of it, because it's hard to, I had to set boundaries with myself, because I would literally work from morning to night any chance I could if my
children were not in my presence, I'd be working. As soon as they went to bed, I'd start working again, and I'd work late, and then I'd get up early. And I do that because I love what I'm doing, and so it's a beautiful part of it. But then it also makes it more challenging to set boundaries with yourself, right? So it's a gift and a curse, but I feel so fortunate that I get to actually just do what I'm really passionate about and pursue a career in that, and then have, my family members and my husband support that mission as well, and kind of all be a part of it.
Yeah.
And it's, very easy. Obviously, like anyone who is doing what they love to do, even the stuff you love to do has parts of it that are not fun, and that are actually really rigorous and really exhausting and time consuming, and kind of details and, all the not fun stuff of doing what you love. And your passion has to be strong enough that it drives you right through that stuff.
Right.
Because it's easy to stop at that stuff and go, oh, actually, I don't really want to do that today.
Totally.
But there's so many elements of, like right now, we're editing these videos. There's 30 plus videos. We have to edit them. We have to come up with all the literature for it. It's like scripting. It's a lot of, writing and kind of more tedious stuff, which again is just part of the process. And because I'm so excited about the end product, it's very easy for me to just drive through that. As opposed to if I was not interested in this, it would be the most difficult thing to do every single day.
Yeah, well, I think just to point out something in that is that, it's not just passion. It's actually that you have a vision.
Right.
And I think that, passion is like the gas.
Sure.
But you have a vision. I have a vision, right? And actually, it's not like this set vision, like, oh, that's the final thing. It's actually, this vision is constantly getting more clear and right? I mean, actually, can you talk about that a little bit? I'm just curious, like, has anything in the vision changed for you since our last talk?
I think it's constantly changing. I think that there's some visions that are like very set in stone. Like I said, the Women Empowered Instructor certification program, that is like a goal. It's like a project that I'm working on. It hasn't a set launch date. Everything's kind of like up in place for that. But in terms of the greater mission, that is constantly where I go, okay, from there, this is where this goes. And so what's hard is that knowing that I kind of have to get this first thing out of the way in order to even accomplish the greater vision,
totally,
right? So this
that.
is more of a project, and it's a project that is a part of the greater vision or goal, which is that quality self-defense is accessible in every single community throughout the world for young women and for, women in high school, women in middle school, but women of any age have access to this. And so making quality self-defense accessible, that is the overall vision and the goal. And how we accomplish that has layers, right? So the first layer is being accomplished now, which would be the instructors. But then beyond that, it's like, how do you approach certain types of institutions and then make it available within these institutions or school systems? That's like where things start to get a little crazy out there. They're constantly shifting. And then I'm thinking, what other elements can we bring into the certification and fitness? And there's it's always like wavering, but the overall vision stays the same, which is make this accessible to as many people as possible. And we're just going step by step to make
your
that,
way up there.
To make it happen.
I want to ask this question. When you have to make a hard decision and you just don't have clarity, like specifically regarding business, do you have a process that helps you to basically make the decision? Are there questions that you ask yourself, or is there anything like that?
Yeah. So I'm very fortunate that I am in business with my husband, who is somebody has a lot of clarity in his work. And that's one of the things I really admire about him.
Yeah.
Is that he's very quick to go, nope, not for me. Or, totally. Or like, yes, this is what we're doing. And then when he goes, he goes. And so he's somebody that is really helpful for me when I bring something to him that I'm even trying to formulate my own thoughts about. So again, whether it's making a decision, my thoughts, the pros and cons, or whether it's like an idea that I have and I need to kind of just actually get it out of my mouth and think about what I'm actually trying to create.
Yeah.
He's the person that I bounce that off of. And so that is definitely a part of the process, is having somebody to bounce your ideas off of and really be able to articulate your thoughts. Because if they're not, whether it's written or whether it's spoken, I think your thoughts about something really need to be articulated. Otherwise, it's hard to sort through them sometimes.
For sure.
So I think that always helps me make a decision, because sometimes I don't even know how I feel about something until I actually start talking about it.
True.
And then you go, oh, okay. It like really helps you sort through those thoughts and that thought process.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of my decision making, I would say, is
That's
bouncing
cool.
off of him, speaking with him. And then obviously he's somebody that I trust a lot. But then there's times where I'll go to him and then he'll say something else and I go, nope, cool, thanks for your input, not going to take it, walking away now, still going to do this. And so again, it's not even necessarily that I need his validation or his like, go ahead, yeah, do this. It helps. But sometimes he may say, oh no, and I go, cool, thanks for your opinion, but I'm going to do this anyway.
Well, sometimes we just need something to push off of too,
totally,
right? Like just to get out and be
where
like,
you go, was I easily swayed on that? If I was, then maybe I wasn't that, didn't really feel that good about this. And if he says, oh, that's not going to work for this or that, and I might go, oh yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah. But if he says that and then I start to fight back, it's like, okay, then I even know where I'm at with that. So it really does help, I think.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And even for people who don't necessarily have a henner or a partner, right? It's just to have someone you trust, right?
Yeah.
To push off of and bounce those ideas.
And oftentimes these days it's not Henner, because he's launched another business.
Yeah,
which
dude.
Is Quick Flip. He was on Shark Tank and it's doing really well.
Which I feel like he should win an Oscar for that.
Oh my gosh, I know.
That was so incredible.
It
was really gnarly. So amazing.
He's pitch master.
Seriously.
He pitches me all the time and I'm like, nope, I see right through it all. But yeah, so he's so busy with that I know when I go to him, it's kind of like for only important stuff, even with business. And, that's the interesting part about doing business with your husband is it's not like I just talk to him about every little thing that I'm doing. I have to pick and choose because I know how busy he is as well. And I want to make sure that if I'm going to talk business with him, it's only on the things that really need his attention. And
that's rad. That's rad partnership right there.
Yeah, it's been a shift that's had to happen. In the beginning, it was always like, okay, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And then finally, he got to a point where he was like, great, do it. And was very hands off. And I was like, oh, snap. Okay, this is on me. Like for so long we were doing it together. And then he really just handed off the baton and was like, go. If you want to make this happen.
You and he knows that you've got this.
He developed the trust in it. And he also just knew like, if we have to do it together, not everything's going to get done. Right. So do this, go forward with it. And that's really how Women Empowered kind of has come to where it is today, because at some point he just said, all right, it's on you, go for it. And I needed that, that push and that realization that I don't need him to approve every single thing. And obviously it was his family business that I got into. So naturally that was where it started and it made sense that way. But I've come to have my own ownership and sense of ownership in what we're doing.
That's beautiful. And since our last conversation, how much has it grown? Because at that point it's pretty major from the time that, I became even acquainted with Women Empowered. I mean, it's just been progressively growing and growing. And I think this was said in our last episode, but, it'll just be constantly said that it's more of a movement is what it feels like.
That is what it feels like.
Yeah.
And there are times where I'm in class. Actually, yesterday was one of these moments where it was a Tuesday night and just, the whole wall is completely packed with women. I want to say, and I didn't count, but it was definitely close to 70 women were there. And this is, by the way, kind of at the end of our what we call cycles. So we're about to have, which we'll talk about now, but we're about to have another free women's self-defense seminar. And we do these every 6 months to kind of bring in a new rush of women who are then going to kind of move along and on these like cycles with us. And so usually right now is the highest drop-off rate of attendance because they've all kind of like done their time. A lot of them have earned their pink belts, or they've just kind of like maybe dropped off or gone on to Gracie Combatives or decided it wasn't for them, whatever it is. Usually right now is kind of the lowest rate of attendance. And the fact that yesterday, a couple weeks before the seminar, it was packed. I was like, oh my gosh. And we're going to bring in another, 60 women from the seminar who are going to start training. So classes are going to have just so much fun and energy, and to the point where we may need to open up new classes. But it's just really, sometimes I just sit there and I watch. I also love watching these students who started knowing absolutely nothing and then watching them just become little badasses. And I'm like, it makes me so happy. And it's like such a beautiful process.
Oh yeah.
It's really special.
That is so special. It's just such a feel good situation. You're helping someone, as a woman who trains jiu-jitsu myself, it's like, and I know we express this a lot, but like, it's honestly one of the greatest things I've ever offered myself in my life, and I want to do it as long as I can. And sometimes I'm doing it more than other times, whatever my body's capable of doing or whatever, my life schedule. But it's certainly a part of my life, period, right? And I think that to be someone like yourself who, you're making it safe for women to come in to feel just vulnerable, because everybody who gets on the mat is going to feel vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And then if you're coming in and let's just say you're a woman who's already been through some gnarly shit, like trauma or something, you're extra vulnerable. And so I can only imagine how amazing that is for you to feel like, to take in these women who walk in timid and now they're like, doing arm locks or, whatever they're doing, like wrist locks or whatever.
Choking each other.
Yeah. And like laughing in the process.
It's like, and it's all the smile. There's so many smiles. Like, that's what I love. I walk around and everyone's like laughing and giving each other high fives. And it's like, it's just the environment that has been created that these women have helped us create too.
Yeah.
They're constantly giving back to each other and to the other students. It's just like one of the most special, beautiful things I don't know anywhere else in the world where I've seen this kind of like energy, female energy coming together, and
it's
what
camaraderie
it's like. It's really amazing.
That's so special. So wait, can we talk about that a little bit? Because the free seminar that's coming up, I really want to talk about that. Everything that I create and share on Black Belt Beauty is like all meant to serve you to be, operating at a higher expression of self. I feel like jiu-jitsu is a tool for me in my life for that. So aside from the fact that you guys are family and I love you guys, this is a legit tool that I utilize in my life to be operating at this kind of high performing self. So I want to really, tear into the seminar, what you guys are offering for anybody who's able to come through and come around and experience it. Because I really do, I value it that much as well too.
Well, thank you. I would love to talk about it. I think most women, if you ask them, they would say at some point in their lives they considered learning self-defense. And the reason why that is the obvious, right? We all know that we're at risk of violence. Some know it, unfortunately, because they've experienced violence. Others just know the statistics, right? So I think self-defense, just kind of like as a generic term, right, is something that people have considered doing. What I think women don't quite realize is what comes along with this type of self-defense. And so we consider ourselves empowerment self-defense, which is why we call it Women Empowered. There are a lot of self-defense programs out there that will instead almost make you feel like more paranoid and tell you what to do. You shouldn't wear this. You shouldn't walk out at night. You shouldn't, don't look at your phone. They're telling you what you can't do in life to stay safe. And that's not a good feeling, So empowerment self-defense needs to be something where it's just, all it is knowledge and tools. And then you take those tools and you do what you want with them and you make the choices that you want to about your life. And just having these options, I can guarantee you every single woman who walks in, and we've talked about this, like the first time you learn a technique, you're just like, why have I never seen this before? And how have I not known that this existed? And it's like it evens the playing field in a way that we never imagined it was possible. Because women all know that we are physically, men are just stronger than women.
Right.
And we know that if it came down to it, they would physically dominate us.
Yeah.
And so once you have this ability and this thought, you're not intimidated by people the same way.
Right.
And you don't think about that intimidation every day, but it's definitely there.
Right.
This undertone of like knowing that somebody could physically hurt you.
Right.
That plays a big role in your life that you may never have considered. And so for so many women, like the effects that it has is not just, I feel safer. That's a beautiful byproduct of what we're doing. But it's about the confidence that they find within themselves, how they're engaging in conversations and other relationships outside of, a self-defense situation.
Totally.
And then also just the community building, right? The sisterhood that is built on the mat, the trust that is given with one another, these friendships that are created there that last a lifetime. So I always say, like, people come for self-defense, but they leave with so much more. And you can't even fathom what you would gain from that until you experience it. And that's why we're so excited to get these free self-defense seminars, because we know they're coming in expecting one thing.
Right.
And they may be even extremely intimidated by the idea. Most women are. Like you said, everyone feels vulnerable when you're saying, hey, what if you were in this vulnerable position? What might you do?
Right.
That's a scary thought for any woman.
Right.
And so at these seminars, it's really about everyone, first of all, kind of sharing that vulnerability and then building each other up together.
Yeah.
And it's just one of the most fun experiences that I have. These seminars are my favorite days of the year because it's like watching hundreds of light bulbs all go off at one time of them all going like, oh my gosh.
That's so rad.
You're telling me that I can actually escape this situation, or that there's options for me that I never knew about? Like,
yeah.
So there's so much fun, and I'm really looking forward to this one in July 13th.
Yeah, all the details are going to be in the show notes. I mean, this is going to be plugged, obviously posting before the event, but I want to make sure to support this as much as possible because, like I said, it's like I can't speak enough about how much I love jiu-jitsu, and specifically, I mean, again, you guys are family. I got really lucky that this is, how I walked into jiu-jitsu, right? Like just straight at the top of the game, let's be real. Yeah. But also, like my brother, Mike, who just got his black belt in December, I don't know if you remember, no pressure, but like his speech or whatever, like after there was some, I can't remember word for word and I won't even try and go there, but I love that he pointed out a few things about this academy in particular and this family and how there's more jiu-jitsu happening. There's more self-defense, but this environment here is so safe. You come in, it's like good energy. Everything's clean. I mean, the locker rooms are just gorgeous, right? Like, and everything just feels like, yeah, I want to hang out here. Yeah, I want to spend time here. And yeah, I can be vulnerable here. So I can totally go into student mode and be okay with being there, which is also why I think that there's less of this kind of ego, which is a very common thing to feel in, jiu-jitsu, self-defense places, right?
Totally.
You don't get that here. It's like, and I know I might be biased because again, but no, it's true. I mean, I know a lot of other people who train jiu-jitsu's academy. I've been in other jiu-jitsu, and it's like, no, it's very unique. So I love that my brother pointed it out too, because it's so true.
It is, and it's something that you can easily lose sight of if you train here and you forget kind of what else is out there. And again, this goes back to our mission, because what's the saddest part about what we're creating and the kind of the content that we create is we'll put something out there talking about, a technique or teaching women something about technique, and they love it and they say, where can I learn more? Right. And, they may be interested in learning jiu-jitsu in their communities. And unfortunately, there are many communities where I can't safely recommend a place for women. Yeah. And not that there may not be a good school here or there, but a majority of BJJ or jiu-jitsu schools, they do not adopt the same mindset that jiu-jitsu is for everyone, that it's not, just, only the strong survive. Right. If you have that belief, then the people who need jiu-jitsu are never going to get it. Right. And so I want to be able to be at a place where everyone who wants to learn jiu-jitsu, I can recommend a safe place where they will feel the same energy that we feel here. Yeah. Because it's so important, because these are the people who need self-defense and need jiu-jitsu the most. Totally. Well, that is so exciting. So, okay. Oh my God. Okay. So, okay. Oh, did you say that? Hair flip? Hair flip. Shoulder roll back. What else? God, where else do I want to go? Actually, I want to surface something kind of deep that just came to me. I mean, this is all like just real-time talk. So it wasn't that long ago you posted something that was pretty personal and, like deep. I don't know. It was like something that you experienced in your life. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, I do. Can we go there? Yeah, we can. Okay. Because I just feel like it just, it's important. I think so too. Yeah. And it's actually not something I had really verbally spoken about much, but it was a post that I had done probably now, I don't know, several months ago. But yeah, let me not even try to guess time. As we talked certainly about. Don't look at me, because as we talked about, I might think it was like months and it could be years. Exactly. We don't know. But where I explain how I am a survivor of rape, and how for me, it took me 10 years after the incident to even admit to myself, and then to tell other people that I loved that I was a survivor of rape. It wasn't until I started, obviously, when my work with Women Empowered and what I was doing with other women, and here I am asking women to advocate for themselves. And it was like this conflict that I kept coming up against, because here I am explaining to them about how, like we talk a lot about how non-strangers, which just means somebody that it's the most likely assault to occur. And I would have these conversations, and I noticed I would go into like really a defensive mode when I talked about it, and it would become like very robotic, and it was hard for me to connect with it because I hadn't yet connected it to myself. Right. And so, for my incident, it was a cousin of a friend of mine, and my friend didn't even know at the time that this had happened. And he was somebody who we all went out with together that night. And again, there was alcohol involved. And so there's a lot of things where I told myself at the time that either I had participated, even though I clearly hadn't, and had resisted and had said no and tried to like physically stop it.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of things that I just told myself that I had participated in it when I actually hadn't.
Yeah.
And so coming to that realization for me was really like, and then what's interesting is when you do that, it's like a whole flood of other shit comes in, and it was good. It was something that needed to happen in my life, I think, but it's so crazy what your mind will do to like when it's in survival mode and when to protect yourself against trauma. And people have different ways of addressing that, right?
Yeah.
Some people will, they cannot stop thinking about it, and it consumes them. And other people, like for myself, I literally like put it into a little box and just like shoved it away.
Yeah.
And to the point where when I finally went to access it, there was like a lot of like deep stuff that came out with it that I realized I had been shifting and putting away for a long time.
Yep.
So it was a really beautiful part of my growth, both that stemmed from my work in Women Empowered.
Right.
And obviously it's like really pushes my passion because I know how that affected me in ways that I didn't understand at the time even, and then coming to terms with it. And it's interesting because, every survivor has like a different way of identifying with their situation or with whatever happened to them. And every situation is going to be different, right? So it's kind of coming to terms with what that looked like for me and recognizing it may not look the same for me as it does for somebody else. And
Sure.
I think that's another part of every survivor's journey is to like not need to handle it any one particular way and just do what really feels good for you. And, but still seeking professional help and like really working through whatever comes up when you're ready to address whatever happened to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a book. I mean, when I read that, I was like, wait, did I know this? Remember I hit you up? I'm like, girl, wait, I love you. Because we're so close, But that was, that's so brave to share too. And so it's like, I just want to almost like commend you for that. But also just, I'm sure that was a very incredible growth process for you internally, but also how it then echoes into everything that you're doing with Women Empowered, right? Like I think a lot of times it's kind of separate but the same. I can draw a parallel. When I'm going through challenge in my life, certain things right now, I think to myself like, Rox, you understand that you're facing this right now because it's going to make you a more incredible leader or teacher and kind of add to the things that, you're creating, right? Because you can't, this goes back to the beginning of what I was saying. Like everything that you're doing is so real. It's coming from your heart. And that's why to me, it is so impactful. It's not just because the Academy is amazing and the family history and their structure, 100% that is a part of it, but it's because there's heart, there's truth in this. So real wisdom comes out, real passion. And so for you to now come to this realization with yourself and have internalized that, process that for yourself. That's huge growth for Eve. But then that kind of new level of Eve, new wisdom that you have, you're able to then apply that to everything in Women Empowered. And that just makes you more of an incredible leader in this space.
Yeah, it was definitely like the fact that I would be teaching this and like literally talking about this and still hadn't come to terms with it. It's hard to explain like what that does to you or how strange it was for me.
Yeah.
And then when it was like this weight just like kept building and building and building. And then I remember Rener was the first person I told.
Yeah.
And I felt like as my husband, I felt like he was the one who I had to just tell first. And it was like a really difficult thing to just get out and to, spill out there.
Yeah.
And then I told people close to me. And then it was even a while, probably another 3 or 4 years until I even addressed it to the public, which is just recently. But I just felt like it's something that I want to be at a place where I want to feel like I'm also a tool for women in that sense, for women who have experienced either similar things or who want to connect or want to, kind of share.
Open up and
just feel open. I want them to know. It's hard for me to ask them to be open if I'm not opening up myself as well.
Right.
So that's why I felt like it was an important part of it all.
Totally.
And again, it goes back to knowing now, like back to the mission of like, I just want young women to learn this because this is when women are most likely to encounter a situation like this is when they're college age or younger. Mm-hmm. And so had I kind of had a better understanding of these things, I I now believe I would be in a place to protect myself from something like that happening again. I mean, there's lots of things you could say about that in life in general when you're in your 30s and you look back to your teens, right?
Yeah.
But this one in particular, I think there's a lot of tools that teenagers, and just understanding what this looks like and recognizing what it actually is. Like I said, I refused to believe that it was rape. Like I literally the next day just turned it off. I didn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And I had to just shove it down and like move on. Like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
That's just not healthy for anybody. So, and there's a lot of people that connected with me afterwards. And so I felt like whether people are ready to share their story or not, even if so many women have experienced something similar.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it sucks that that's the reality and that's what the numbers tell us, but it just reminds us like we still have a lot of work to do.
But that's, I was going to say, that's also part of, I'm sure, what drives you and your vision is like, it sucks, but guess what? It is a reality. Yeah. So what are we going to do about it? And
people so often think that in a sexual assault situation that it's like a physical fighting that happens.
Sure.
And that's the only aspect. But that's why so much of Women Empowered is not just the physical tools.
Yeah.
Because I didn't choose to it's not that I tried to physically fight him off and didn't. Mm-hmm. I went into survival mode because I didn't think I could fight him off successfully.
Right.
So a survival tactic for many women is to just say, okay, do what you want.
Yeah.
Because they don't think they're defending themselves physically. It doesn't even seem like a viable option to them whatsoever.
100.
And then you tell yourself, oh, because I didn't fight them off, it wasn't rape, right? So
right.
That's where that there's misconceptions about that.
Yeah,
is
totally.
That
I can see that.
Men can coerce you into doing that by physical intimidation, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that if you didn't fight it off, that it wasn't what you thought it was there.
Yeah. Well, cool. So I'm sure that you felt very empowered by sharing that too. Like
it was, yeah, it was
like a big
huge,
sigh.
Yeah, it was. It was a big weight off of my shoulders, I would say.
By the way, can we talk about your shoulders for a second?
Oh, shoot. Can you talk about shoulders?
I'm like, girl. I can't even help.
We are all about the shoulders.
We really are. Actually, you were the one, not someone. You were one. You were the girl. So, because you have 6 shoulders. I mean, athlete your whole life, like being a gymnast too. Like I love it. It's so sexy. And I remember when we were talking about weights that one time, you were saying, this is a long time ago, but you're like, I feel like when your shoulders are developed, like it really just does something, to the body composition. And now that I'm so deep in the game with body composition, specifically, I'm like, oh my God, I think about that so often. Like, she is so right.
Well, that's what women used to ask, like, oh, what do you do for your arms? And that's one thing I'll always tell women is be like, look, like the whole bicep, tricep would just work on your shoulders.
Just work on your shoulders.
If you can work on your shoulders, then it all falls into place. But
right. Your waist looks smaller because
nice shoulders.
I mean, you're okay. So they're looking amazing.
Thank you.
How has it been?
Let me sit up here.
Let's go into some fun kind of off the mat stuff in your life. Like, so since Renson, I'm sure it's like, okay, there's a period where it's all about Renson and, what you can get in terms of training and movement is like whatever you can get, right? But I feel like you're kind of past that right now. Maybe not fully.
Yes, I was. Yeah, I definitely am past like the, postpartum situation of not feeling your energy back. I got my energy back and I was like training both jiu-jitsu. I actually was taking a lot of Mike's classes.
Oh, I love that. So, yeah. They're so good.
Mike, Roxy's brother is just... He's
on another level.
He's on another level.
Really, did you see it that I bench pressed the other day?
Yes,
I had not bench pressed since I was 9 years old.
Dang,
9 or 10 or whatever. Like Dad used to. Yeah. I know. It was funny when I was writing that. I was like, people are probably. I'm like, yeah, that's actually my dad used to make me bench press, and I used to actually hate it, to be honest. And I went through a period where. Because I was like so just about my muscles, like, it's all my dad's fault because he had me benching. And I'm in such a different place, but maybe we'll get back to that. But yeah, it was rad because I went into the lab, Michael's gym, and I didn't even feel like benching that day. But man, it's something about him where it's just like, he was doing it with Bree, and I'm like, all right, let me get in on this. Like, let me see what I got. Because actually, how fucking strong am I really, right? And so, I ended up hitting 135, but I needed help on the way up because my form, I have no form because I don't bench, right?
Right.
But, I hit 115 pretty easy and that felt good. So yeah, I'm super inspired to like keep that going and see like, what do I really got? Yeah.
He's the one to do it with. He's like, yeah. So I've been taking his classes, and I would say, unfortunately, I think I already mentioned this, but my neck was injured. So since then, I have not been able to train jiu-jitsu, and I literally just got back into doing stuff in the gym like yesterday.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like just right now.
Dang, well, your shoulders are already like...
Well, thanks, girl. I did a little pumping today. No.
Yeah.
But that's what I realized. I mean, I was feeling really limited range of motion. And so I go to Zaker Chiropractic, who helps me out so much. Yeah. So they've been like going to work on me. But then I'm like, okay, I can't move my neck, so there's a lot of things I can't do, but there's tons of things I can't do. So I'm just focusing on that right now.
That's cool.
It feels so good to just move again.
Right? Yeah. And I mean, once you're a mover, it's like, it's hard not to move, right?
I get so pissy pants when I don't work out, when I don't exercise for a while.
Well, you're used to the chemicals, you're used to the hormones, right?
Yeah.
So then when you're not getting it, that's a real biological thing that is happening to you. It's not just, I like to work out. It's like, no, we're used to the dopamine release, of the BDNF, all the rushes of these things. So it's like when you're not getting that, you are going to feel different. Yeah.
Totally. So I'm ready to get that feeling again.
Oh my God, I can't wait to hit weights with you. I can't do some stuff.
I can't wait for this neck to get better, but I have to be patient.
I know.
Because the problem with necks is the moment you're like, oh, it feels good, you're literally a tweak away from it getting injured again.
Yeah, and we don't want the setbacks. I mean, I was talking about that in my story. I just did a run, and it was my first day. I just took a couple weeks off, not that big of a deal. Doing I do my beach runs in the sand. My 10Ks are usually what I do, unless my time is limited. I just wanted to see where I was at today with my body. So it wasn't like I was expecting anything of myself. Also, my time was limited because I knew I was going to come get down on a podcast with you, but it felt good because I hit 3.5, but I had 6 in me and I felt that. And I'm honest, like if I didn't, great. I know where I'm going to, what to work on, whatever. But I also didn't need to try and push. This is what I shared on my story because I want to protect my joints because Friday I want to go hit my 10K, right? And I'm super excited about that. And I think that this is like how I'm able to, progressively work harder, like to grow performance is because I'm constantly being mindful about being smart, working smart. It's just, it's a constant thing, right? Yeah. So I think that's just intelligent. Like it's not worth it. Yeah. And when it's your whole life, like being active is, I feel like it's going to be a forever, as long as your body's willing to go, it's a part of your life, right? So then the most important thing is not just today, it's that whole concept. So everything that you're doing needs to support this concept of, I want to be moving and feeling good for...
Right, the longevity of your activity.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I think about that a lot with my jiu-jitsu and realizing that because it's a previous neck injury that just gets reinflamed. It's an injury I got from wrestling that's every once in a while would just flare up. And so I just know like, okay, if I do want to train jiu-jitsu for the rest of my life, I have to adjust. I may have to adjust my training. You know, and like know that I'm just not getting, like don't get choked, or if someone wraps your neck, you just tap right away. You don't try to like get out of it, or maybe even for a while right now I decided I'm like I can go do technique and not spar for a minute, and just kind of go super slow. But it's hard because it's like I miss it so much.
Oh man,
it's such a big part of your life, and then especially after just taking like a year off for pregnancy,
totally
I was like, get me on the mat, and then now I have this setback again. But that's like what life is. And luckily with jiu-jitsu, I've had this relationship with it. Yeah. Where I've had so many times where I've had to take a step back and get back on.
And even that creates a beautiful kind of trust in that I'm good. It's not like this is going away. Yeah. It's just, I've been here.
I actually talked about it at the belt ceremony where it's like a muscle that you're developing. The muscle to stop something and start again is actually takes some courage, and it like takes some training of like your mindset as well.
100%.
I remember the first time, like when I got pregnant with Haven, I had already had some times where I'd have to take time off because from WWE, but with that was the longest I had taken off. And so to come back on after that, it was like, I was really just kind of like nervous, and I'm like, do I remember anything? And then the more times, and then I got injured, and then I had to come back, and then I had Henson, and I came back, and I'm injured again, and I'll have to come back. And
oh my gosh.
Every time you just realize like, nope. Like, the mat's still green.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna like. Now the only difference is all my training partners that were maybe
right. They're
underneath
like
me. They might be a little higher than me, but it's not about them.
No,
it's
it's
about
not.
me and my journey. And so the more like I've seen it so many times that I'm now at the point I'm like, okay, cool, another setback.
You're good.
Great. And
Yeah.
I'll just get back when I can. But
that's so amazing. I feel you on that because I've taken big breaks. Like I just came off a big one and I just got back, and not like huge, but just there are times where it's just more steady than other times for different reasons, right? And I had a little neck thing, whatever. And just the other day I was training with my brother and Bree, and I'm like, it's the feeling of I step back like, do I even know anything anymore? Like, do I? Yeah. And it's just so fun actually, because then you get on the mat, you're like, oh, I do. And I mean, could I be further along? Absolutely. Is there some setback in my game? Yeah, there is, but I'm not coming to the mat empty-handed. Like, no, I'm rolling in, and I got some, secret weapons, and if anything, most importantly, I just got the movement. But it just felt, it's hard, man. It's hard. I think that's such an important thing to pin out, and I'm going to actually circle it to my run this morning too. Even though it was just a couple weeks off the run, the hardest thing is to take a break from something that, by the way, isn't necessarily easy. Mm-hmm. We love jiu-jitsu. There's fun in jiu-jitsu. I love my runs. I love all the different modalities in my training, but it's not easy. Mm-hmm. None of it is easy. Running in the deep sand for 6 miles is not easy, but that's kind of why I love it too, right? Yeah. But then when you take these breaks and then you got to push yourself to go back, right? Because sometimes like when there is that break, sometimes it is a push. It's not just like, oh, I can't wait to get back. There's like, what's this going to feel like? Oh, it's going to be... Anyways, and then you step back in the ring, in the octagon, on the mat, in the sand, whatever, and you're like, cool. I mean, after the run, I was like, yes, okay,
it's crazy how resilient our bodies are. Like, that's the other thing I've learned. Like, I remember being at my biggest when Henson was like about to be born. I was like, how in the hell is this weight all going to come off of my body? And like, there's no way. I was like, this is going to be my new body. Okay, that's it. And guess what? Like your body just, respond, and it might take a while, right? It was not a rush, and it was not like, it took its time, but then here I am, a year later, I'm like, okay, so this system works. Like, your body is meant to work.
Women are incredible.
We
really,
and it's like, it even baby or not, like you take a break and you're like, oh gosh, or maybe you get injured, but your body wants to work.
Totally.
Right? You give it an opportunity to work for you, it will. You just kind of have to know how to do that.
I love that. So I have a few fun questions that I want to throw at you. Okay. So who is your male spirit animal? And I mean, can be human as well, not just an actual, you could do both, animal and human.
Got it. So a male that I feel like is my, like, oh, I get you. You're my spirit.
Yeah.
I thought way too much, but I'm just going to say, for some reason, the first person that came to mind was Barack Obama.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was my,
no, I think it's cool when you kind of go top of mind with it,
Yeah.
Elaborate maybe a little bit.
Well, that's why I was like literally sitting there thinking, I'm like, why did I think that? Just his energy, like his ability to be like super high functioning, but also super like fun and laid back.
Yeah.
Is like,
that is really cool.
That's just, I feel like he's like very well rounded and very like,
yeah.
And just connects with people really well.
Yes, he does. I love that. Okay. Female spirit animal.
Bae. Sorry.
I know. I already knew that. That was like a giveaway.
See, for my, whatever, I think it was birthday or something, you got me that.
Yes.
It says, what would Beyonce do?
I love it so much. It's so perfect. It just, yeah. I knew that answer, but
they may not have.
Why actually? I want to elaborate a little bit. Or I would like you to.
I just feel like she exudes so much of like, that we all like kind of feel like is in us sometimes, but like doesn't always get to be out. Like I'm like, I want to channel my inner Beyonce at all times, but because she just, I don't know if you've ever seen her perform.
I have not.
To like
no.
Pretty much all of her shows, except for the one with Jay-Z because I was delivering a baby. But
had to do it.
Yes, but she's just like when she performs, she just goes all out. Like she does not hold back at all. And
That's rad.
Just gives so much. Like she is an incredible performer.
That's amazing. Yeah, she looks like to be. I mean,
she just stands there, and she like gives me chills. I'm just like, oh, she's just so powerful.
I
And
love
really,
that.
yeah.
I love being musicians, those artists. It's just like in my life, music is it's my first love. It's what has moved
totally
me.
Is. And she's like literally like her music has gotten, I remember I went through a really bad breakup in college. She got me through that. Like other times in my life where I'm like, you know, Girls Run the World. Like so many of her anthems have just been representative of like,
well, that's
times of
amazing
my
because I
life.
got some questions that are coming up that I feel like she's going to come back.
Yeah.
Okay, so song that makes you cry.
I would have to say Sam Smith because I don't remember the name of the song. I may have to look it up.
That's okay. You're not the only one.
I was about to say Snatch. Hold on. I
love
need to get
that
it together.
so much.
Good thing I've got my phone right here. I'm so bad at these questions. Hold on. Sam
no,
Smith.
this is what makes
You know
it
what I'm
fun,
talking
though.
about, right?
I don't know if I do. I feel like I definitely know who he is, but I'm not so versed to be like, oh yeah, that song.
Oh my
You
gosh.
know, I
It was
mean,
like basically our wedding song. And
Oh.
so I always think, and I remember it came out right before Henner and I got married.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's like one of those that still like gives me butterflies about him and I get really emotional.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's always a song that will conjure up some tears out of us. You know, like we all have a song. I feel like I have
Latch.
plenty of those.
That's-
Latch.
yeah.
Oh, Snatch Latch. That's so brilliant.
Oh my God.
I think I like Snatch better. I'll be honest.
I snatched him up. Snatched him up.
Exactly.
No, Latch. That's it.
Okay.
But only because it was like the song from our wedding video. So I feel like it does that to me.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
A song that makes you feel sexy and empowered.
Oh, any Bay song.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel
pretty
like
much like all of the Lemonade album. I'll just put it on repeat and just like,
it just get posture up, like you
Yeah.
got this. Okay. I love that. Empowering quote. I know.
I think the one that I always like resonate with is she believed she could, so she did.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward, but you're like,
Yes.
oh yeah, you just,
Right. But simple
you
is
gotta
like,
believe it first. Makes sense.
you got to believe it to see it.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. Okay. Is there anything, I mean, listen, this is just, I'm so fucking good at laughing at myself. And honestly, you know what? I feel like I'm going to talk about that more because I really almost feel like it's one of my secret weapons in life.
Oh, you got to.
You know, like
you
you
can't laugh
can't
at
take
yourself. You're gonna be really disappointed.
Well, there's just so much, like, especially with being an entrepreneur, solopreneur, high performer, whatever, all this stuff. Like, it's all serious. It's all important. But if you can't fucking laugh at yourself, like,
Or
oh,
just like
man.
make everything like I always
Just find
think about,
humor
did I
in
tell
things?
I told you about Haven, right? When he was like still 2, he would eat it, like fall, and he would get up and go touchdown.
No, that is, I could
And I
so
was
see
like,
him doing
I
that.
want to be you, and just like
That's
eat it, and then
amazing.
get up and be like, "Yep, totally meant to do that touchdown, motherfucker." Yep, I just hit a touchdown. What?
Oh my God.
I know it fell
love
on my
him.
face, but
Dude, you posted this story of him the other day. It would be so fun if you can see the actual reactions. But he was in his like Spider-Man costume. Girl.
just running. Oh, he is not taking that Spider-Man costume off
can't
for 2
deal
weeks
with
every
him.
single day.
Really?
Spider-Man.
But the way he was like, go, and I'm literally dying. I'm like, you know, and I just, you know, there's no emoji that's ever going to express my cackle like in the most legit. But because you know me and you know my cackle, I'm like, it's okay. She gets
I
it.
love it.
It's so cute. Okay, yeah. So I am so stoked because this is the start of the new series where it's just, we get to just rap out more, you know, because our conversations, you know, they're so rich with so much value. I mean, you are doing such incredible things in the world, but not just like on not just in Women Empowered. I mean, just functioning as a human being, you know, that there is a deep contribution to who Eve is in this world. And I love pointing that out. And so I feel that, you know, just having this kind of ongoing conversation and adding this series to the podcast is going to allow me to basically expose more of your fucking greatness.
Oh,
and just have more fun, like more hangout time. That's what it really is.
You want to schedule some hangout time? Let's do it. Just turn some microphones on too while we're at it.
I love it. Wait, what did you say?
I said, let's just hang out and just turn some microphones on too while we're at it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, wait, okay. All right. Yeah, I love you. I know you've got so much to handle. So thank you again for making time.
Oh my gosh.
Sneaking me in. And yeah, everything related to the seminar, you guys, show notes, check it out. You get to come hang out with my girl, Eve. I'll always do my best to be there if I'm in town. It's so much fun. I love experiencing it as well. And yeah, to be continued.
To be continued. See you July 13th.
July 13th. Bye, guys.
Thanks so much for tuning into this episode, you guys. If you loved it, please share it on your social. Throw it up on your Instagram stories and tag me. I'm at Black Belt Beauty. I am also at Roxy Look, RoxyLook. I love connecting with you guys. This is a conversation that I want to just continue growing with you guys. So if you feel inspired to hit me up, do so in that space. I always enjoy hearing from you. If you'd like to support this podcast, you can do so by rating it and reviewing it via iTunes. It's such supportive help, you guys. It really helps the visibility of this podcast. So I appreciate and thank you in advance for doing that. And last but not least, if you are interested in starting your own podcast, or perhaps you already have one and you need help with, editing your audio and the production of it, I cannot recommend my producers enough. Resonate Recordings, you guys, they are the bomb. I rely on them. They are an absolute supportive tool to me and my podcast. So check them out and let them know that Black Belt Beauty sent you. And on that note, you guys, I'm signing off with all my love and always looking forward to catching you on the next.